The late 1800s was part of the cult of domesticity and Victorian ideal. These morals were held high, especially for women. Annie Oakley started challenging these standards at a young age. Annie was born on August 13, 1860 to the name Phoebe Ann Moses in a small rural county located in the Midwest United States called Darke, Ohio. Her father died when she was very young. This forced Annie to move into Darke County Infirmary, where she would take care of orphan children, learn how to sew, and receive schooling. Sewing was one of Annie's first hobbies that she held dear to her heart, along with reading the Bible. Once she left the infirmary, Annie moved back home with her mother and new stepfather. After receiving one of her father's guns, she quickly taught herself how to shoot and hunt. This skill escalated more and more when she started to work for the local grocery store, swapping game for everyday necessities. During the cult of domesticity, women were seen as delicate citizens of the home. Yet at the age of 15, Annie already made enough money from hunting to pay for her mother's mortgage. Her mother thought shooting was tomboyish, but it helped pay for the bills in their rural town. These skills would soon come in handy to make her one of the greatest markswomen in history. In 1987, Annie competed in a Thanksgiving shooting competition, beating her future husband and performance partner, Frank E. Butler. In 1876, the couple got married. Annie was only 16 and Butler was 24. In 1884, Butler's partner got sick, so Annie took his place in the Sells Brothers Circus. This is when she officially changed her show name to Annie Oakley. The same year, Annie met Native American leader Sitting Bull. The leader was so impressed with Annie, he renamed her Watonia Cecilia, meaning Little Sure Shot. A year later, Sitting Bull got Annie to join Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. Joining the show was the big kickoff to her career, touring for over 15 years. Annie was the spotlight while Butler was her manager. Oakley was so talented she could shoot a cigarette out of her husband's mouth and shoot a distant target while looking into a mirror. Eventually, the show got so popular in the States it started to tour the world. Annie got to meet the famous people such as Queen Victoria and even got to shoot a cigarette out of Kaiser Wilhelm II's mouth. Being in a show that was generally full of masculine people pushed the gender boundaries when Annie was expected to follow. Having successful markswoman skills was not expected out of such a petite woman. She kept her physical physique with long hair and female clothing. She had to carry herself in such a way to be accepted by society. Annie even said herself, "When I began shooting in public, it was considered almost shameful for a woman to shoot. That was a man's business, you see." After the Buffalo Bill show, Annie did some small stage work. In 1913, Oakley and Butler retired to Cambridge, Maryland. During World War I, Annie tried to organize a group of female sharpshooters but was rejected. Instead, she helped to raise money for the Red Cross. Annie came from a poor family, so she shared much of her fortune with these people close to her and donated to many characters. Annie died on November 3, 1926, but her legacy still lives on. Throughout her whole career, Annie kept her stage name and didn't take her husband's, giving her own autonomous identity that was not connected with her husband's that many American women were subjected to during this time. Butler also seemed very dismissive towards Annie, considering the fact he abandoned his own career to manage hers. Annie's accomplishments landed her a spot on Judy Chicago's International Honor Quilt. This quilt was in response to Judy Chicago's piece, The Dinner Party, that was a symbolic history of women in Western civilization. Women all over the world created the International Honor Quilt to honor other women. There are 539 different pieces in the entire quilt. Robin Fisher nominated and created Annie Oakley's section. Fisher, who resides in Los Angeles, California, remembered a musical about Annie from her youth. This struck up an interest in researching more on Oakley by checking out books at UCLA's library. Turns out the books hadn't been checked out in over 10 years. Based upon this research,